plot was simple. Your downfall was planned, your name dragged through the dirt, your future placed inside a coffin before you even had the chance to fight back. They dug the hole, smug in their certainty that you would never climb out. They stood at the edge of your grave, grinning, watching, waiting for the inevitable. What they never accounted for, what their arrogance blinded them to, was the nature of the one they sought to bury. Some do not die in the dirt. Some become something else entirely. At first, it seemed as if they had won. The weight of betrayal pressed against your chest, the loneliness of exile suffocating, the silence of being discarded deafening. The world moved on as if you had never existed. Your name, once spoken with admiration, now became nothing more than a forgotten whisper. And yet, in that darkness, something began to grow. A realization, a transformation, a hunger. They had taken everything but one thing: your ability to rise again. The mind adapts when it is forced to. The body strengthens when it has no choice. And when left with nothing, the spirit either shatters or becomes unbreakable. The weak do not return from exile. They do not survive being erased, being replaced, being thrown away like they never mattered. But you did not just survive the grave. You used it to become something more. Time passed, and they carried on, comfortable in their belief that you were gone, that their betrayal was final, that their schemes had succeeded, that you were too weak to crawl back out. But then, the whispers began again. First in the distance, then creeping closer, then so loud they could not ignore it. The one they buried was not just alive. They had become a force beyond their comprehension. And that is when the fear set in. Regret is a slow poison. It starts as a nagging discomfort, an itch beneath the skin, a whisper in the back of the mind that something is not right. At first, they deny it. It was the right decision, they tell themselves. They deserved it. But the problem with false victories is that they do not last. And when they look around and realize they are still the same, still trapped in their own mediocrity, still rotting in their own bitterness, that is when the weight of regret truly begins to crush them. Look at how the world operates. The ones who manipulate, who sabotage, who orchestrate the downfall of others, never build anything for themselves. Their entire existence revolves around destruction. They do not create. They do not grow. They do not evolve. And eventually, when they have no one left to betray, when there is no one left to throw into the grave, they are left alone, staring into the pit they once dug, realizing there is nothing left but emptiness. You have seen this before. The ones who thought they were untouchable, who stood on the ruins of those they destroyed, only to find themselves crumbling just the same. Because power gained through deception is temporary. Betrayal comes full circle. And no matter how high they thought they climbed, they always fall harder than the ones they tried to bury. The difference between you and them, you learned in the dark. You built yourself in silence, sharpened your mind in isolation, turned every wound into a weapon, every loss into fuel, every scar into armor. You became something beyond their comprehension, while they remained the same. And now, the ones who thought they had control are powerless. The ones who once dictated the story now have to watch as you rewrite the ending without them. And what is worse, they know they can never undo what they did. No apology, no backtracking, no attempt to rewrite history can erase the reality they created. They will wake up every day knowing that their greatest mistake was thinking you would stay buried. They will go to sleep, knowing that they gave you the very fire that burned them alive. And that is a punishment worse than anything you could have done to them yourself. Betrayal is a game of overconfidence. It is never executed with hesitation, never delivered with doubt. The betrayer walks with a sense of victory before the game is even finished, convinced that their move was unseen, that their deception was flawless, that the target will crumble before ever realizing what was taken from them. But the flaw in betrayal is always the same. It underestimates the one being betrayed. The betrayer thinks their advantage is permanent, their power untouchable, their scheme airtight. But what happens when the one who was supposed to fall doesn't? The betrayer assumes the upper hand because the knife is in their hands first. They move without fear, execute their plan, convince themselves that their treachery is an act of brilliance. And at first, it seems like they are right. The moment of impact is always devastating. Betrayal is designed that way. It takes you off guard, dismantles your expectations, forces you to question everything. Look back through history. Betrayers always believe themselves to be untouchable in the moment. They savor their advantage, never considering the long game. Julius Caesar trusted his Senate, and yet he bled on their marble floors. Brutus thought himself victorious, but in the end, his name was cursed for eternity, while Caesar became a legend. The betrayer never considers that history remembers the betrayed and erases the ones who wielded the blade. The reason betrayal fails in the long run is simple. It is a game of arrogance. The one who deceives is too sure of the outcome. The moment the knife enters your back, they assume the war is over. But wars are never won in a single move. The betrayer may have landed the first strike, but you are still standing. And as long as you breathe, as long as you understand what has been done to you, as long as you refuse to be broken, the game is not over. The problem with overconfidence is that it blinds the mind to consequence. The betrayer does not believe in repercussions because, in their eyes, the damage has already been done. What else could happen? What more could unfold? But reality is cruel to those who think too soon. The betrayed, if they are wise, if they are patient, if they allow time to sharpen their instincts rather than poison their heart, become something unforeseen. And nothing terrifies a betrayer more than realizing their victim did not die, but transformed. Revenge is too easy. That is what the betrayer expects. Rage, retaliation, an immediate explosion of emotion. They assume their betrayal will be met with destruction, chaos, something predictable. But the betrayed who learns patience wields a power far beyond anything the deceiver could have planned for. Time is cruel. Time does not erase betrayal. It exposes it. It forces the truth into the light. It allows the betrayer to make mistakes. It turns the tables without you ever having to lift a hand. The greatest punishment for the betrayer is watching you rise, watching you refuse to be a casualty, watching you build in silence while they remain the same. Betrayers do not grow from their treachery. They peak at the moment of their deception. The betrayal itself is their high, their moment of perceived triumph. But when that moment passes, when the dust settles, when you continue forward while they remain stuck, that is when regret begins to sink in. Nothing haunts a betrayer more than watching their target become untouchable. It eats at them, gnaws at their mind, forces them to relive the moment they assumed they had won. The arrogance that once made them feel powerful becomes a weight around their neck, because now they know they miscalculated. Now, they realize they created something far more dangerous than the person they first betrayed. And you were meant to break. You were supposed to fall into weakness, into anger, into the trap of proving your worth to someone who never deserved your presence to begin with. But instead, you did something far more terrifying. You learned. You evolved. You became something greater than they ever imagined. And now, the one who thought they had ended you has to live with the truth that their betrayal was not their victory. It was their biggest mistake. The universe is not merciful, nor is it cruel. It does not favor the righteous, nor does it elevate the wicked. It simply maintains balance. What is taken will one day be returned. What is stolen must be repaid, not out of vengeance, not out of punishment, but because the scales of existence do not allow debt to remain unpaid. This is not superstition. This is law. The ones who believe they can tip the scales in their favor forever, hoarding power, betraying trust, taking more than they give, always learn this lesson the hard way. You have seen it. The ones who rise through deception, who build their kingdoms on stolen efforts, who extract from others without ever replenishing. For a time, they seem untouchable. For a time, it looks as though they have outplayed fate itself. But the house built on theft does not stand. It collapses under its own weight, crushed by the burden of all that was never truly theirs. The universe does not forget. It only waits. Your pain, your losses, your stolen moments, they are not gone. They are in motion, circulating through the unseen mechanics of existence, waiting for a new form. What was taken from you is not lost. It is owed. And when it returns, it will come with interest. That is how the balance corrects itself. Not with immediate justice, not with the satisfaction of watching the guilty fall exactly when you want them to, but with something far greater. The undeniable, inescapable shift of power itself. The ones who took from you did not understand this. They assumed the universe had no memory, that actions fade into nothingness, that the world is governed by luck rather than consequence. But the longer one steals from the balance, the heavier the price becomes. Wounds fade, scars form. The body, relentless in its mission to survive, repairs itself whether the mind wants it to or not. Skin knits together, bones fuse, pain dulls into distant memory. The past, in most cases, is something that can be outlived. But regret does not heal. It festers. It tightens its grip with every passing year, whispering reminders of what was lost, what was ruined, what was thrown away. It does not weaken. It evolves, shifting from sharp agony to a slow, relentless ache that never truly fades. Time forgives physical wounds. A broken limb does not remain shattered forever. The body, even after being torn apart, finds a way to rebuild itself. But time does not grant the same mercy to the mind. Regret does not fade. It compounds. It does not dull. It deepens. And unlike pain, which demands immediate attention, regret takes its time, weaving itself into the very fabric of existence, ensuring that no matter how far someone runs, it will always be waiting. Every betrayal, every wrong decision, every moment of cowardice is another chain forged. At first, it seems like nothing, a fleeting thought, a passing discomfort, something that can be pushed aside. But regret does not leave. It lingers. It buries itself beneath distractions, beneath new experiences, beneath the illusion that it has been forgotten. And then, when everything is quiet, it resurfaces, sharper, heavier, undeniable. There are those who believe that regret can be outrun, that new successes will erase past failures, that fresh faces will replace those who were lost, that enough time will render old mistakes irrelevant. Fools believe in such things. Regret does not disappear. It waits. And the longer it is ignored, the more power it accumulates. The weight does not lessen. It grows. The ones who deceive, who manipulate, who betray, they do not understand this at first. In the moment, they feel victorious. They convince themselves that their actions are justified, that time will make amends, that what was done in darkness will never find its way into the light. But the mind is cruel to those who think they can escape consequence. What was stolen cannot be returned. What was broken cannot be unbroken. And eventually, they are left alone with nothing but the echoes of their own choices. Regret is merciless. It does not care for apologies. It does not care for second chances. It does not care for the desperation of those who realize too late what they have done. There is no redemption, no undoing, no way to reverse the damage. The past is an executioner, and regret is the noose it ties around the necks of those who thought the future would be kinder than their actions deserved. Some will try to rewrite history. They will convince themselves that the betrayal was necessary, that the loss was inevitable, that what was broken was never worth saving in the first place. But the mind is not so easily deceived. The mind remembers. And when the distractions fade, when the noise dies down, when there is nothing left but silence, regret speaks the loudest of all. The worst wounds are not the ones that bleed. They are the ones that exist in the space between what was and what could have been. The friendships lost, the love abandoned, the opportunities wasted. Not because they were meant to be lost, but because pride, arrogance, or selfishness made them impossible to keep. And once the realization sets in, once the truth is undeniable, there is no escape from it. Time may lessen anger. It may grant understanding. It may bring new faces, new places, new distractions. But time will never erase the weight of knowing that something great was ruined by nothing more than a poor decision. That kind of pain does not go away. It haunts. It turns into a permanent shadow, lurking behind every success, whispering through every quiet night, ensuring that no matter how much the world moves forward, the one who carries regret will always remain trapped in the past. The schemer walks with certainty, convinced that every move is unseen, every deception flawless, every step beyond the comprehension of those around them. The mind of the manipulator thrives on illusion, on the belief that the game being played is too intricate for anyone else to unravel. Superiority is assumed, not earned. The world is divided into predators and prey, and in the eyes of the one who plots, there is no question about which role belongs to them. Cunning is mistaken for brilliance. A successful deception is held as proof of intelligence, as if weaving a web of falsehoods is the same as building an empire. The schemer confuses trickery with mastery, mistaking short-term victories for permanent control. But the flaw in every grand plan is the same: the belief that the architect is the only one thinking ahead. A lie may go undetected for a time. A manipulation may bend the will of others for a moment. But control is never absolute. The pieces on the board always have a choice, even if it takes time to recognize it. A mind obsessed with schemes does not rest. It calculates endlessly, twisting every conversation, analyzing every interaction, ensuring that no one gains an inch of ground that was not granted. A life lived this way is not one of power, but of paranoia. To control through deception is to walk through a house of mirrors, never knowing which reflection is real, never certain when the illusion will crack. The smarter one believes they are, the more blind they become to the trap being built around them. Loyalty cannot be manipulated. Fear can be instilled. Admiration can be feigned. Submission can be forced. But none of these things are loyalty. Those who follow because they were deceived will abandon the moment they see the strings. Those who obey because they were tricked will seek vengeance once the illusion is shattered. To rule through deception is to rule with an expiration date. The throne may look stable, but beneath it, the foundation is already eroding. The schemer thrives on the assumption that no one else is paying attention, that arrogance becomes their weakness. Assumptions are the cracks in the foundation of control. No plan accounts for the unpredictable nature of those who refuse to be controlled. The moment one person steps outside the script, the entire performance begins to crumble. Every deception relies on predictability, on people behaving exactly as expected. But people do not stay blind forever. A relationship built on manipulation is a war with no victor. One side believes they hold control, the other feels the walls closing in. The battle is fought in glances, in words left unsaid, in the quiet resentment that grows beneath the surface. Trust is the first casualty, and once it is gone, there is no rebuilding. The one who pulls the strings may hold the upper hand for a time, but the one being controlled is always looking for a way out. The illusion of intelligence is often mistaken for true wisdom. The schemer believes in superiority because their game has yet to be disrupted. They think ahead, but only in straight lines. The strategist sees the entire battlefield, every angle, every potential outcome. The difference between the two is patience. A manipulator rushes to seize control. A strategist waits for control to be handed over willingly. One burns bridges for temporary gain. The other builds roads that lead to inevitable dominance. Nothing collapses faster than an exposed scheme. One revelation is enough to unravel years of control. The moment trust is lost, fear replaces it. The manipulator becomes the hunted, the one who once dictated the rules now scrambling to regain footing. The betrayal is never forgotten. Once the game is revealed, the players refuse to sit at the table again. The mastermind learns too late that no amount of deception can replace genuine power. A mind that believes itself above others is already on the path to destruction. The assumption of superiority creates complacency. The belief in absolute control leads to overextension. The downfall is never as dramatic as expected. It is slow, a tightening noose of miscalculations, of bridges burned too soon, of people underestimated. When the collapse comes, there is no recovery. The web falls apart, and the one who built it is left tangled in their own design. The mind is wired for cause and effect. Strike, and there is an expectation of counterstrike. Wound, and there is an anticipation of retaliation. Betrayal invites chaos, demands a response, thrives on the energy it provokes. The one who schemes, the one who deceives, the one who walks away, believing the final move was theirs. All operate under the same assumption, that their actions will force a reaction, that their presence, no matter how bitterly resented, will linger in the mind of the one they wronged. And yet, when nothing comes, when no fury erupts, when silence is the only answer given, that is when the real suffering begins. No battle to be fought, no argument to be won, no wounds to be licked by the victorious. Just absence. A void where a war was supposed to rage, and into that silence, doubt begins to creep. Did the damage truly matter? Was the betrayal even significant? Was the loss even felt? The absence of a response is not weakness. It is a mirror, forcing the one who expected conflict to see only themselves staring back. Some are prepared for rage, for bitter words, for the theater of confrontation. They craft their defenses before the war even begins. They are armed with excuses, justifications, counterattacks. But silence? Silence robs them of the performance they prepared for. It denies them the satisfaction of seeing pain manifest. It replaces their anticipation with a far more devastating force: irrelevance. Let absence be the final word. Let nothingness be their punishment.